Hi folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report. Well, right now I think the prime fishing news is about ice fishing. You know, we had a long stretch of frigid cold weather and now it's been thawing, and what this causes is tremendous fluctuations in the thickness of the ice. And you have some areas that are much more susceptible to that danger zone that we would talk about. You know, safety is everything. And in the St. Lawrence River, where you've got current, your ice thickness levels are much, much less than they would be in places like, for example, Black Lake, where the ice is, I don't want to say always, but it is generally more stable. And I've been talking to Dave Roll in Black Lake about what the conditions have been like. And he said, you know, not a lot of crappie are being caught right now. They still seem to be dispersed. But he said the size of some of them is really, really impressive. He said yesterday, he said we had this Amish boy that had been fishing here, and he caught one that was over 14 inches. And he said the day before we had another person catch one that was about 14 inches. That's really big crappies. He said, but there hasn't been the number of fish that you will get once they start grouping up. He says one thing that seems to happen is when the dogfish move in, and they will move in and out, but when they move in, the other fish really get out of there because dogfish can be vicious. And there's a number of dogfish in Black Lake. Now, some of you listening might not know what a dogfish is, because I know a lot of you are maybe casual fishermen. Dogfish are one of the prehistoric fish. They aren't known for being good to eat at all, but boy, they've got wicked teeth, and they can be quite a scavenger. So it's interesting to hear some of these reports. You know, they had a tournament. The Black Lake Fishing Game Club had a tournament here a week ago, and they had some really interesting results. They had a number of northern pike that were weighed in that were over 30 inches long. In fact, I think the winner was 33 inches. And then in the kids group, they had another pike that was over 30 inches. So we want to remember that there's an awful lot of good northern pike in Black Lake. It's one of the key, I think, sort of attractions of this lake. And yet so many of us think of either panfish or bass. And speaking of panfish, Dave told me that there have been a number of perch and bluegill. They've been much more prevalent, even though that I think the star of Black Lake is always going to be crappies. There's who knows how many there. There's hundreds of thousands probably if you take in the whole 25 miles of lake. But for a destination, Dave was telling me he sells a lot of bait there for people that are also going over to the St. Lawrence River. But he said the ice thickness of where they were going was about 4 inches. He says, whereas out in front of his place on Black Lake, they've got 16 inches of ice right now. An important thing to remember, especially if you're new to ice fishing, you haven't really got yourself familiar with some of the ropes of both the techniques and of safety. But Black Lake is a gem, and we can't forget that. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meisner with the North Country Fishing Report.